It's a little bit strange to be talking about a new player experience to Lord of the Rings Online, a 15-year-old game that has passed through the hands of multiple developers, and most fans of the Lord of the Rings have probably played this game at one point or another if you have a computer and love MMOs. But surprisingly, there has been a huge surge in popularity for Lord of the Rings Online recently due to the 15-year anniversary, some general hype that exists online and things like that. And so there are actually a lot of people considering the game right now. And so I thought it'd be great to jump in, play the game for a couple of hours, and then comment on my experience. And so I'm really excited to share those with you. I've got 3 things that I think are awesome, and I got 3 things that I think could be improved, and maybe you're gonna be a little bit game breaking or deal breaking for some people that are jumping into this MMORPG from 15 years ago. As always, if you would leave a comment, whether you agree, disagree, I love dialoguing. I read every single one of those and love responding to them as well. So if I say something that you agree with, go on ahead and type that in. If I say something you totally disagree with, let me know in the comments down below. But let's jump into it. Okay, let's talk about the first good thing. Lord of the Rings Online is a fantastic world to be immersed in, especially for the Tolkien fan. If you grew up on the Lord of the Rings movies, if you're as nerdy as me and have one of the swords hanging on your wall, this is a great place to be. The music is award-winning and fantastic and really follows into the footsteps of the music that came from the movie. I mean, it really is an immersive experience. Playing this game with headphones on is a really cool space to be in. The story in itself is really great. You get to walk alongside the characters from the movies, from the books, and that's a really cool thing. And immediately you're really just hit by the Tolkien-ness of this world. I mean, this is Middle-earth, and there really, I don't think at this point exists a better place to just be immersed in Middle-earth outside of Lord of the Rings Online. And if you're a Tolkien fan, if you wanted to visit great places like Rohan, like Minas Tirith, maybe even walk through the Shire, this is a great place to be. Okay, but let's talk about our first, maybe not so good thing. Lord of the Rings Online is a 15-year-old bloated game. It's very overwhelming for new players. There is just so much game to play because the developers have been very faithfully executing new types of content, new quality of life improvements. They've been putting new systems in over the last 15 years, and unfortunately, they haven't simplified that bloat yet. There's a lot of systems to catch up on. Your character tabs across the bottom of the screen are just everywhere, from virtue traits to eventual legendaries to, I guess I get a war steed at some point. There's just a lot there, and it's not simple for the new player. It doesn't allow the new player to grow into those experiences. It just kind of all hits you at once. Here's a great example of that. If you logged in during the 15th anniversary celebration, even as a non-subscriber, you got 3 gifts in your inventory that when you click them and open them up, immediately fill your inventory completely full. And one of those gifts that you got during the 15th anniversary celebration was actually a gift of the Valar that immediately levels your character up to, I believe it's 105. And on my stream and in my new kinship, there have been a couple people that have said, listen, as I was just clicking to clear and see what was in there, I accidentally leveled my character to 105. It's a very overwhelming experience. I think that this game is a little bit overwhelming at first, and it can break the immersion. It's not quite an easy experience to get into as a new player. It kind of overwhelms your system. Okay, let's talk about great thing number 2. The starting zones are awesome. They are so cool. I think that the starting zones that you jump into from levels 1 to 10 are really immersive. They're very Lord of the Rings. Turbine, the original publisher and developer of Lord of the Rings Online, did a great job of developing this space, understanding that these were going to be new players, most likely coming from World of Warcraft, that were really hoping for a Tolkien-esque experience, and it really does deliver that. The stories in the new areas are great. The music is great. In fact, if in my leveling up experience as a hobbit, I went through Archit, and in Archit, you get to actually experience a story that's full of intrigue. You're not the main character at first. You know, of course, you have to kill boars and wolves and pick plants like in every MMO, but there's actually a really engaging story where there's some betrayals that happen. You're walking alongside Strider and 2 hobbits. I mean, it's a really cool experience, and I think Lord of the Rings Online deserves the credit for really going all in on this introductory space, and I really enjoyed it. All right, number 2 on the not so great side. The mobile game mechanics that have been added into this game kind of in the last couple years to monetize it are really immersion breaking. Right as soon as you log into the game, there's all these little mobile game mechanics that just exist right away, and it's kind of frustrating. You get this little gift basket that pops up in the lower right part of your screen, and as soon as you open it, it says you have a, I believe, bronze gift available, and then there's a gold gift. There's like a level 1 and 2, and you know, 1 is free, and then you get another one in the next 24 hours, and then this one over here you can spend mithril coins on, but you don't really know what you're getting, so it's more of like gambling, and you have to spend in-game currency to open another one. It's really weird. And you know, honestly, you go to the Lord of the Rings Online, like in the first good point, to be immersed in a world. You want to visit Middle-earth, and it feels really weird to go in visiting Middle-earth, playing your hobbit or elf or man or dwarf, and you jump in to visit Middle-earth, and then immediately there's mobile game mechanics in the bottom right-hand corner. I know for some people this isn't going to be that great, but for me, I really do love to immerse myself in a world, and I think that's actually the biggest strength of Lord of the Rings Online, is the immersion, and it's a really immersion breaking experience to log in and just immediately get hit with, hey, here's your free daily gift, and the gift is like plus 20% virtue experience. I don't even know what that is at this point. And to me, you have to, from the get-go, get your players immersed. That's the strength of this game, and that really breaks it. I don't know how much money Standing Stone makes off of that system, but if I were them, I would do away with it completely because it's very immediate, it's in your face, and it just kind of breaks the immersion. All right, let's go last good thing to me. The community in this game is probably the most helpful and friendly of any MMO that I've played. The cool thing is this game has whittled down to a very hardcore select group of players, and while that may seem like a bad thing from an MMO perspective, it's actually really interesting how the world chat, because it's such a small game, has become a social hub. So whether you're in the starting zone or if you're deep into the Moria expansion and you're in the dark alone in the caves, there's always a world chat happening on the bottom left. There's always people talking, joking, talking about the game, getting advice, and there have been multiple times where I've gone to the world chat to ask questions, and immediately I get flooded with really friendly, kind responses. Now that may just be my server. I'm on Arkenstone in the US, and that could just be maybe the times of day that I'm on, but in general, as I've been playing, it's been really cool to see how engaging and friendly the community has been. I actually was trying to experiment with this, and I created a brand new kinship called Bright Life on Arkenstone. Feel free to come join us if you want to, but it was immediately filled by really friendly characters, people that were asking, hey, how can we help with what's going on? What can we craft for you guys? And it was amazing, and I didn't really prompt that at all. It really is an engaging and friendly community, and where other MMOs that have become so massive, I think people take it for granted that social interaction can happen in the general chat. And social interaction is still a really important part of the MMO. And so if you're looking to immerse yourself into the Lord of the Rings world and you really like interacting with people, you don't necessarily even have to join a kinship to do that. It's just a really good space for great interaction. Okay, and let's talk about the last bad thing, and then I'll give my verdict at the end of this video. The game itself, as a Tolkien fan, is awesome. But as an MMO without any Tolkien, without any Lord of the Rings, it does fall a bit short. It's a very dated game that hasn't necessarily updated its mechanics of being an MMO as much as a lot of other older games have. For a quick example, the combat in the class systems don't really feel significant. A lot of the classes feel like a lot of different buttons that you press at random just to try to, hit off your big attacks. They don't feel like they really build into one another. The combat doesn't feel very heavy or real. In other games like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, these big games that set the benchmark for MMOs, their combat is really solid. Moves tend to lead into other moves. Actions tend to proc other actions that then lead to an ultimate critical attack. And there are lots of great cooldowns that you can use. And Lord of the Rings Online has a couple of those, but as far as rotations that really feel satisfying, that, engage your DPS at the highest level, they don't really have that. From an MMO standpoint, like an MMORPG standpoint, it doesn't really have what some of the most cutting edge games have. Another example of how Lord of the Rings is great for Tolkien fans, but maybe not quite so much for an MMO fan, is the questing is super generic. Go kill 5 boars and then pick 5 blueberries and bring them back back to the quest giver, and then they'll send you to a new place where you're gonna kill 5 wolves and then, you know, pick 7 cherries. Like, that's kind of the vibe of Lord of the Rings Online, and where some people may really enjoy that slow-paced stuff, it doesn't get super creative in its questing. It hasn't been updated in 15 years, and I really think that the creative questing is something that really builds a great MMORPG, and in this one, it just doesn't really have that. It's relying on a very, very old formula, and as a new player, it may get old before you even reach level 10, the quests that you're doing, because they're pretty generic. Okay, so that's my goods and bads. I'd love to hear what you think, but here's kind of my final verdict on this game. For a 15-year-old game, this is a fantastic game for the Tolkien fan, or for the slow MMO player. If you love Lord of the Rings and want to find yourself immersed in Middle-earth, travel the whole thing and explore it, there's no better game to do it with right now. And if you like the slow grind of an MMO where it's just, I want to turn my brain off and do the same types of quests over and over again, I don't really care too much about max level, I just want to hang with friendly people and just kind of turn my brain off in game, this could be a really great game for you. And I've found that at the end of the day, whenever I just want to turn my brain off, it's a great game to play. The problem with the game is for those of you that are real in-game progression people. If you love in-game progression rating, if you love really difficult dungeons, maybe a really engaged PvP scene, this game doesn't really seem to have that in spades. It exists, but it's not really what the game is for. This game is really for the slow-paced MMO player, maybe the Tolkien fan that's really engaged with the world and wants to explore it, but it's not really that. And I think that's an okay thing. I think that there are lots of different MMOs that are out there for lots of different people. And so if you're a Tolkien fan, if you enjoy the slow-paced MMO, this may be the place for you. Hey, and like I said, you may completely disagree with me, and I actually really welcome those. If you disagree with me, please go ahead and leave it in the comments below. I'd love to interact with you, engage with you. Let me know what your experience was, and be sure to leave it a like, subscribe if you liked it. There's more coming out like this as we go, but really, I just want you to know a couple things. Here at Bright Life, we say these things every single video, and they really matter. You are more loved than you know, and you are more valuable than you realize. I hope you have an awesome day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave it a like. It's totally free to do. Subscribe if you want to see more. And as always, I'm live on Twitch over at twitch.tv/BrightLifeCommunity. We're a community of positive and uplifting gamers. Come find a friend to raid with, grab loot with, and just enjoy life together with. Hope you have an awesome day. Be blessed, and you are so loved and so valuable.